Welcome back to Footballology. So now it's time to build out the Green Bay Packers roster, the NFC North champs. I'm kind of excited about this one too, just like I was excited for the Minnesota roster. This team has a lot of talent on it. So getting right into it, we're gonna scroll down. I don't need to say much about this man. It's Aaron Rodgers. He went 37-7 or 37-4. Sorry, my apologies. 37-4 with a 68 completion percentage, 4,100 through the air. And did he get any rushing? Hold on. Did he rush at all? Because A-Rod good for his running. Look at that, 3 rushing touchdowns too. So we got 40 total touchdowns. I mean, it was Aaron Rodgers, right? So I don't need to go into the passing. We know what that is. And then we go over here. We got AJ Dillon at the running back position. Now AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones combined for a lot of yards. Was that 1600? 1602 to be exact, and 9 touchdowns, which is really solid. Granted, you had Jonathan Taylor who led the league in rushing, but they're averaging close to about 4 or 5 yards a carry, which is really solid. But for me personally, I'd rather have a duo versus than a singular back. That's just me personally, because I feel like you keep a lot of pressure off your guys, and your guys are fresher coming into the playoffs or going in, especially with the 17 game season now. Yeah, your guys are a lot fresher, especially going into the playoffs, and I really like that. Plus, Aaron Jones gives you a lot of versatility with his ability to catch out of the backfield, as you can see right here. And so running, they were solid. Passing, they were solid. And then we come over to receiving. You have Davante Adams, which, oof. Look at this drop off. Hold on. Sorry, I apologize. But yeah, still look at that. Look at that drop off in yards. We had Devontae with 1,500 yards, and then our next closest receiver was 500 yards. That's scary. I'd rather have that guy closer to 9, almost 1,000. You can show me a lot more balance. But I mean, you had a couple of guys. You had 4, 3, a couple of threes, twos. But 8 touchdowns from Lazar and 500 yards. I would definitely like to see the yards up, but losing this production from Davante Adams is going to be really interesting, and it's going to be. I'm really curious on how they're going to replace it and on what it's going to look like when they do replace it, or if it's just going to take these 1,500 yards and start to spread it out amongst the other guys. And they did lose Valdez-Scantling, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting how they're going to use these new weapons or moving into the season, but that's for the later part of the video. So receiving last year, they were solid. We'll say they were solid for the most part. You had a number 1, but we would like to see more out of the number 2 position if possible. But it is what it is because it was Davante Adams, so you just kind of take it. So we're scrolling down. We get to the defense side of the ball. Now this defense, once again, I keep saying this and I keep repeating it, but it was competitive. It was a competitive defense. 18 interceptions, which is pretty big. I enjoyed that. That's not bad. But they only had 2 touchdowns. Was it 2 total touchdowns? Or 2 interception touchdowns. Yeah, they only had 2 total touchdowns. That's unacceptable. We got to get that up, right? And so then we come over to sacks. Looking at sacks, didn't have a double-digit guy, but Rashawn Gary being one of your young pass rushers really to start to come on for you. So that's a big time. Preston Smith being there with 9 sacks is a big time. Those are some good names that you want to see, especially on the sack list. That you want to see high on the sack list. So I can accept that as well. This defense, like I said, it was just a competitive defense, and it was a really solid defense, to be honest with you. They kept themselves in a lot of games, and they got a lot of good secondary players that I think really helped them and really propelled them to stay in a lot of games. So we know it's the Packers. We don't need to say much about the Packers. We kind of understood what they did. So let's get into their offseason, right? So then we're going to come over to their free agency. Now, this free agency period was very important because Davante Adams, if I remember correctly, was up for a contract, and they were kind of going back and forth before they decided to trade him away to the Raiders. But they got Sammy Watkins. I was about to say Quay Walker and Davante, but those are the rookies. But you see, they got Sammy Walker. And they also got Nixon and Jerron Reed, which Jerron Reed is big. I like him as a defensive tackle, interior tackle. Give me 1 second. I'm going to not re-sign, but let's see, signed free agents. Get a decent update here. Okay. Why does it say Reggie White? I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure as a Packer fan that would be de-signing all over again. But anyway, so Watkins, Nixon, Reed, Rasul Douglas resigned, and then Robert Tyan, I think he came back and resigned. Also, something that doesn't show on here was Jair Alexander. I think you guys resigned him as well, which was big time as well. So I mean, I think they retained a lot of good players, or retained the players that they needed to retain, and really held on to things that they need to really hold on to. There's no more transactions. Okay, so they did what they were supposed to as far as taking care of in-house. I'm a fan of that. I'd rather take care of everything that's in-house versus going out and trying to replace something or trying to chase somebody that I lost. So I'm a big fan of that, and I'm glad that they made these little subtle moves. As you can see, there's like 1-year deals. Douglas got the 3-year deal, but these are very subtle moves, and I think Jair got about a 4-year extension. So subtle moves, but important, big, impactful moves. So then we come over to their draft class. Now, at the top of this draft, their first 3 picks are very solid picks. I can't say very many enough, but Quay Walker, which was a Georgia linebacker that essentially like they were just kind of giving him, if we're being honest. But he was definitely one of those guys that, I mean, let's say any Georgia defender was where it's at. Then Devontae Wyatt, I mean, come on, yeah, you know, whatever. We know Georgia guys. And then this Watson pick though, in the second round, which was really big. I had him going in the first round. I think a lot of people had him going in the tail end of the first round. But I think this is a good value pick, getting him in the early part of the second round, because that basically gives you that, hopefully, that number 2 or that number 1 receiver possibility down the road. But that was really solid. Zach Tom was an offensive lineman that I was kind of looking at throughout this whole entire process. And then Carpenter, I think, is this this might, no, the name looks familiar, but I'm not sure if that's the safety I'm thinking of. But God, that's gonna bug me. Hold on, that's gonna bug me. We gotta look at this, because I think it's him. I think the guy I'm thinking of went to like UTEMP. You might know Woolen. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Tariq Woolen. Okay, that was the problem, because I was thinking of Woolen. Okay, but this guy's not bad. 6'3", 230 at the safety position. That's really solid, actually. And no combine report. I'm not seeing any combine report. We got like this random video playing now. There it is, 4.52. He ran a 4.52, so I don't know. Big body safety. So, but anyways, I was thinking Woolen. That's why the Tariq threw me off. I was thinking Woolen. But anyways, so overall, I think they did what they were supposed to. They came in, they added some really good defensive depth guys. They added, Watson, which was really important. And then who else? Zach Time, I kind of mentioned him. Kingsley, I heard his name several times from some people that I just kind of talked to. So I mean, they overall, I think they had a solid draft, and they kind of took care of some pieces and added some pieces that they really needed to this class. That was really going to give them an opportunity to be successful down the stretch, and hopefully. And it's interesting when it comes to Green Bay, because Green Bay is always finding these random dudes, right? Like, nobody really messed with Jordy Nelson before Green Bay, but all of a sudden Jordy Nelson. Same thing for Devontae Adams. Like, they tend to find guys and really develop guys there in Green Bay. So I'm not putting them in the Baltimore, New England category just yet, but they were pretty good about that. So with all that being said, they didn't have any coaching changes or anything, so we're just going to dive right into the roster builder. And we're going to come over here and we're going to build our roster. We're going to go down to the Green Bay Packers. And I mean, this is, once again, easy. Aaron Rodgers. We're just going to throw what we think. Obviously, this is going to be a split position, but I think Aaron Jones gets the start. And then we come over to the infamous offensive line. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I struggle mightily when it comes to the offensive line. And I'm trying to get better. Okay, I really thought that was Jenkins. Am I missing something here? Is there another center option here that I'm not understanding? Because I thought Jenkins was the center there. Is that just me? Am I wrong? Is it Josh Myers? Is it? See, I'm already struggling out of the gate. So, because I could have sworn it was Jenkins, but they lost somebody else, and so maybe Jenkins is at guard, right? And then I think that they were talking about, I read something, kind of glimpsed it, so I'm not gonna say I read it. I just kind of ran over it. We're looking at John Runyon Jr. at the other guard position, and then our right tackle was going to be. Now this one I'm not sure of. Because I don't want to say Rasheed Walker. It's not Rasheed Walker. Okay, time to learn. Time to educate myself. So I think I've educated myself just enough to possibly make some good decisions here. If you're a Packers fan, I need you. I definitely need you on this. If you especially want to comment, help me out. So I feel like Jenkins should move in the center. It says guard, but I think you should play center. Obviously, John Ryan Jr. is going to play right guard. Uh, and then I think Rasheed Walker plays right tackle. Now, this left guard position is kind of up in the air for me. And I'm not sure if Royce Newman's the option there, or if we're looking at, they did draft Sean Ryan. Granted that he was taken as a tackle, but now he slides in at guard, and maybe you put him between Bakhtiari and Jenkins, and you kind of hide him in there between those vets, and hopefully that works for you. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go Sean Ryan. Maybe this improves your run game. Yeah, but you have two rookies. This is a pretty young offensive line, so that's kind of scary for Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers is pretty a high mobile quarterback, and one thing he does well is kind of mask a bad offensive line, and that's something he's been doing for a majority of his career. So who knows? But if I'm wrong, if you guys see something else, or you know something else, just help me out, educate me, because I've been brooding. I just been butchering offensive lines. I've been trying to get better, but I've just been butchering them. Coming over to the tight end position, I think it's gonna be Robert Tonyan. No questions asked there, which is gonna be interesting because no Devontae Adams. Does he get more touches, more looks, anything like that? That's gonna be really interesting. So I think we're gonna pencil in Sammy Watkins here for now because he's the vet. He's probably gonna be the most notable one. I think Cobb gets the slot here, but I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Amari Rodgers takes over that spot. Yeah, I'm just gonna give it to Cobb for now because it just makes the most sense. And then we're gonna come over here and get Watson and pencil Watson in here. I did not realize how bare the cupboard was at the receiver position for the Packers. It is so bare. After last year having a plethora of guys, now you're kind of just. I think that's where Aaron Rodgers shows his greatness, though, because we say that now, and one of these receivers are gonna emerge as somebody that you're going, oh, this guy, and just never gonna look back. But anyways, we're gonna come over here. Now, this is interesting for me. For me personally, and I might be completely off when I say this, and forgive me if I am. I feel like Jaire Alexander. Now, I say Kenny Moore. I think Kenny Moore is the best nickel in all of football. I think Jaire Alexander is a true corner, but I think his size makes him make them play him as a nickel. But I also think that he can cover the best receiver at all times too. So it's weird, right? So in this situation, for sake of argument, I'm going to put Rasul Douglas at the 1. And God, I know you. Hey, if you're a Packers fan, don't kill me. Don't kill me. Because it should be Jaire Alexander. I'm not denying that. He's your best corner, hands down. I'm not denying that. Jaire is going to play nickel because of his size. But I do believe he could travel with the best wide receiver and man coverage, regardless of anything. But in this case, I don't know why. In my mind, it makes sense. And then we're going to put Stokes at the CB2 spot because I think that just makes the most sense. But because I don't see. Okay, and that's the other thing, too. If we don't put Jaire at nickel, who plays? If Jaire plays the outside, we're not putting Rasul on the inside because Rasul is too big and too stiff, right? Stokes, maybe you can get away with him, but once again, his size and athleticism. If you're playing against a team that has bigger receivers on the outside, think about like if you're playing in Cincinnati, for instance. I'm not sure what their schedule is, so you're probably not playing Cincinnati. But if you're playing like a team like a Cincinnati, they got big receivers on the outside, right? So like you want to be able to hang with those guys, and you could pick Jaire Alexander, and usually Jamar Chase can line up anywhere, so maybe he just follows Chase. So things like that, and that's just how I look at it. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Anyways, moving to the safety position, Adrian Amos, hands down, no brainer. And then we're going to come over to the free safety position, which is going to be really interesting now. Savage, I like the way Savage plays, and I think they play like a really hybrid package. They never play a traditional like 4-3-3-4 front with the secondary. They kind of like Savage would come in as like this. I always go back to what John Gruden said, linebacker. So like a safety linebacker position, like this hybrid position that's usually like floating in here somewhere, and he has a random assignment. But that's what Savage usually does. But for this sake of argument, we're gonna put Savage at free safety. But I do like Savage. I think he's a really good safety. So then we're gonna come down here, and then we're gonna start building up our defensive front. So they got Jerron Reed. Oh, so are we running a 3-4? So because we could put Wyatt here, that makes sense, right? and then our nose at that point, Kenny Clark. Yeah, so Kenny Clark, which is a really solid nose, and then our other defensive end. I guess Reed, because that's right, we had him here in Kansas City. I knew that. So that's your three. That's your 3 down linemen. So then we're gonna go to a four backer set. So then we're gonna start looking at these outside backers. So we're looking at the pass rusher, Gary, Preston Smith. So yeah, Gary, Preston Smith, no brainer, right? And then they also this Randy Ramsey dude. I've seen his name a couple of times. Kobe Jones. I've been watching him. Been kind of following him a lot too. So they got guys that could possibly pick up and do something. So then we're gonna come to the inside. I think Campbell, Devondre Campbell, hands down. And because, granted, he was a first round pick, but I think he's gonna wind up being the best guy for the job. It's Quay Walker, right? And so that's gonna be your front with Smith. Water got 2 Preston Smiths on there. Oh, where's Rashawn Gary? There he is. Okay, so with Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith coming off and being your edge guys, and that's probably why they felt comfortable with moving off from Zadarius Smith. But Preston Smith has been, for the most part, consistent since he's gone to Green Bay, so that's really good. But Smith and Gary coming off the edges, and then you got Walker and Campbell in the middle. I like this linebacking core a lot. This front's going to be interesting, especially now that we got Wyatt playing on the outside on the defensive end spot. Now, granted, it's the similar thing, especially when we switch to a 3-4. He still is going to be a run problem, a run fit problem guy. So, yeah, I don't see anything. Looking at this overall roster, all of my camp positions in my mind, the defense I did without breaking a sweat. All the camp positions are going to be on the offensive line and at the receiver position, and I think that you guys as Packers fans already knew that going into this season, is that what is this offensive line going to look like, and what is this receiving core going to look like? And I could be wrong, and you guys could have more answers than me. And if you do, please don't hesitate to comment. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But I like this. I think this is a really solid setup. And looking at this defense, I think this defense is going to be a problem, like they've been for like the last 3 or 4 seasons. All right, so with all that being said, I do feel like the Packers deserve a B for their offseason. And let hear me out. Granted, they created a void by not retaining some of their top receivers, right? So Lazard, St. Brown, and obviously Devontae Adams. Not retaining those guys definitely going to hurt them. But I think the Packers are starting to wise up, and this is what I like about it. When you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and you feel like he's your franchise guy, and if I remember right, they restructured his deal, whatever, this offseason, because they did, and that was a whole ordeal with him and Jordan Love, in my opinion, but that's a video for another day. But I think that you get to the point where you want to stay competitive defensively, and by getting Wyatt and Walker, I think you do that. Retaining Jair Alexander, because you definitely didn't want him to hit the open market, and retaining like Rasul Douglas and some of your defensive components that's really going to help you elevate, especially in the later part of the season. I think it's really important. I think they also re-signed, maybe Aaron Jones is working on a contract. I could be wrong about that. I can't remember, but I think they retained the right pieces. Now, granted, unfortunately, they was unable to pay Devontae Adams, but like I said at the beginning of the video, the Packers tend to find ways to find receivers that just kind of blossom out of nowhere. Not saying Devontae Adams is not a good receiver, just saying that that's the perk of truly having an elite quarterback, right? When you have an elite quarterback or a franchise quarterback, it doesn't matter who's catching the ball, as long as they do what they're supposed to. These guys have to show up and show out. And so that's why you hear a lot of people in the media talk about, is Devontae Adams going to look as good as he did in Green Bay? Not saying that Derek Carr's a worse, I mean, he is a lesser quarterback, but he's not that far off. Is Tyreek Hill going to do any better in Miami than he did in Kansas City? So when we've seen these big receivers start to move around, it's like you went from an elite quarterback to now a pretty, like, I mean, in Tua's case, he's like tier 3 right now, but Derek Carr is like, mid tier 2 quarterback. Is your production still going to look the same? Is the passes going to still, like, are these things going to still be the same? And I think that if you're Green Bay, you have the luxury of having an elite quarterback, the top 3 best quarterback in the league right now, and you can get away with that. And so I think that they still deserve a B. Retaining some of the quality pieces, they're going to allow them to win down the stretch. The offensive line does scare me the most because I had too many question marks and not enough answers. Granted, I do that in every video, but it was like they don't have no certainties there at the offensive line position, and that just doesn't sit right with me. But I don't know. We'll see how it works out for them. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you're a Packers fan, do you like that roster setup? Do you agree with this grade? And do you feel like that you guys have an emerging receiver that no one's talking about? And if you're not a footballologist yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Go and hit that subscribe button today. Become a footballologist and stay safe, football fans.